The Winnipeg Jets make light work of the Dallas Stars and now have a stranglehold on the Central Division. But this is no time to panic. I'll tell you why next.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Dallas Stars fall to the Jets on Friday night by a final score of 4-1 as Winnipeg has now opened up a 10-point advantage over Dallas in the Central Division. A very sloppy game from the Stars, but I believe you should not panic if you're a Stars fan. I'll tell you why on today's episode. But Jake Oettinger must wake up. He needs to be better. His last two starts have been very underwhelming as Dallas is now Colorado bound. We'll preview that matchup before we get you out of here on a Friday edition of Locked On Stars, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Now, this is the type of game that would usually warrant a rant from me, but I do not feel the need to rant tonight for a number of reasons. Look, this was a game for Dallas where they were going to have to overcome a lot, and they just had to try to stay in the game for as long as possible and not get ran out of the building. And as weirdly as this may sound, I thought the Stars did all right for themselves considering what they had to trot out there tonight. And Winnipeg is a very good team. The West runs through the Jets. They are locked and loaded. I have a lot of respect for this year's Winnipeg team. Last year was a different story, but man, they are deep. They are big. They're physical. They play with a lot of energy. The intensity they played with last night, Dallas could not match that. And the confidence just exudes from them, especially at home. They were all over the Stars and shut down a very, very good Stars offense. Dallas could not get to the interior against Winnipeg last night. They really, really earned my respect from Winnipeg. I think I took more out of this game from a Winnipeg side of things than a Stars perspective. If I was a Jets fan, my lone concern would be how are they going to respond with adversity come playoff time? Once they get punched in the mouth, maybe they go down 1 or 2 games in round 1 or round 2. Can they respond? Because everything seems to be clicking this year. They just rattle off win after win. But enough from a Winnipeg side of things. This is a Stars podcast, and we're going to get to that. Look, Dallas was missing Roope Hintz. Enough said. Your number one center iceman. That did not help. Number 2, Lian Bichsel was out with an illness. They had to address Matt Dumba, Cody Ceci, and Brendan Smith tonight. That's a tough ask, especially from Brendan Smith, who I don't believe has played the last week, maybe week and a half. That is a tough ask to just throw him into the lineup against the best team in the league, especially at home. Like, here you go. Try to stop the Jets on home ice. That's a tough job for him. And I just thought it was a game where Dallas was playing from behind the 8 ball from the start. And the Stars still had more chances at 5-on-5, 24-21. But I'm not going to sit here and create this illusion that the Stars were the better team. I'm not trying to convince you of that. Let's make sure that is said and we get that straight. The Stars were not the better team on Friday night, but they mustered up some looks against the Jets. You know, Winnipeg had 22 shots, but a lot of their chances were some tasty looks on Jake Oettinger. And you can look at the standings and it looks pretty dire. With a win on Sunday now for Colorado, they can be within 1 point of the Stars, but it does not matter where Dallas finishes in the Central Division. It does not matter whatsoever. Would you like them to get home ice? Yes, but they haven't taken advantage of home ice in the last 2 seasons under Pete DeBoer. Right now, it's just about getting in, and this result makes it more and more likely now that the Stars are going to play Colorado. It was going to be a tough ask to try to track down the Jets, and who knows, they still have one more head-to-head game against the Jets later in the season, and if they bounce back on Sunday, then I'm sure we'll be talking about this again. But the Stars were shorthanded against a Winnipeg team that is locked and loaded, 25-5-4 now on home ice. And the Stars were going to need a power play goal here or there and Jake Oettinger to make a few stops here and there, and they did not get either one of those tonight. Was it frustrating? Yes. Was it disappointing? There was a lot of anticipation. Everybody was ramped up for this Jets versus Stars game, and it really didn't live up to the hype. But Dallas went into this without a few of their key players, and this Jets team ran them out of the building for the most part, and that's what Winnipeg does this season. This is not what we're going to see from Dallas in a month or so, and I would not get too wrapped up in Game 65 on a Friday night against Winnipeg. The questions this team has to answer is in April. We can save our criticisms for that. That's when we can start letting them have it if they start to perform like that in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I'm not going to get too riled up over a game where Dallas was just sort of fighting it all night. And I thought there were some good performances. Jason Robertson thought he looked hungry, looked determined, trying to muster up something for his side. I liked his game. Even Wyatt Johnston, I thought, was in the thick of things, just trying to make some things happen. But it was just a tough night all the way around, and it certainly does not help having to dress what you would probably say is 3 sixth defensemen with Dumba and Cece and Brendan Smith. And for as much as we have applauded the Dallas Stars for grinding out this entire season and dealing with a lot of this adversity, I think we're going to start to see the toll of some of that here in the next week or so. They're playing a lot of good teams that are either trying to fight for their playoff lives or trying to fight to stay in the playoffs, that we may see some of these really disappointing games because the toll of the grind and just the minutes that some of these guys have piled up now over the last month or so, with Miro being out and Sagan, and you could throw Marchment in there, and just all the injuries are going to start to take its toll a little bit. And they're going to have to reset before they get into round one. We all know that. But I don't want to overreact to this one. Was it a measuring stick game? Yeah. But this is just a complete different Dallas Stars team than we're going to see in about a month. And I know in about a month, there are still some big questions. Like Miro hasn't even started to skate yet. Tyler Sagan is skating, but what is he going to look like? There are a lot of question marks with the Stars. And when I talked with Ryan, I said you have to take a little of this with a grain of salt. Stars are outscoring some of their problems. And when they played a really good team, they came up empty, weren't able to score enough. The offense sort of let them down. And, Otter needed to make a save here or there to try to keep him in it. And he just wasn't able to make it. And that brings us to a larger discussion about Jake Oettinger that we have to get to. And y'all know I love to defend Jake Oettinger, but his last 2 starts have been awful. and he needs to wake up. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Trade Coffee. Your mornings have to start with a good cup of coffee, but sometimes you get tired of settling for grocery store brands that just aren't cutting it. That's why you can turn to Trade. And let me tell you, the coffee is next level. Trade is the #1 specialty coffee marketplace in the U.S., bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of your country's top roasters. Their experts have taste tested thousands of coffees, curating over 450 amazing roasts. Whether you're new to coffee or know exactly what you like, they'll handpick the perfect match for you. You can take a quick quiz. In under a minute, they can match you with a roast that is fresh, smells incredible, and tastes even better. The subscription makes it so easy. You don't have to do those last-minute grocery store runs or settling for whatever is on the shelf. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/lockedonnhl for 40% off your first order. Drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. We have all the conference tournaments taking place this weekend. The madness is right around the corner. And right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. You've got your eye on a few underdogs this year. FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, game props. Stay in the action with tournament games happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on. Those first 2 days of the madness are incredible. So visit FanDuel.com to get in on the action. $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins for you new customers. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. So Jake Oettinger has had a couple of rough outings back-to-back. He gave up 5 against Edmonton. He stopped 22 of 27. He gave up 4 tonight against Winnipeg, who finished with 22 shots. And they need Oettinger to find his game in a hurry because they will not go anywhere without him. I would say my worry meter is up to probably a 6 or 7, which is pretty high for me because I'm one to usually defend Jake Oettinger, and I probably will defend him here in this segment as well. But I've seen a lot of fans asking to see more of Casey DeSmith, and I would not push back on that because I think Otter could use the rest, and Casey DeSmith has been playing very well here as of late and has done a superb job. And if they can work him into the mix here a bit more, especially in the next 2 weeks where Dallas is playing a lot of games in a short amount of days, they could use Casey DeSmith a bit more here to give Otter some days off and a chance for Otter to just reset a bit. And there is a lot of hoopla around Jake Oettinger. I get it, whether he's an elite netminder or not. I love Jake Oettinger when he's at the top of his game. When he's in peak form, he is an elite netminder. I'm not trying to provide a false narrative about him right now, but I think in his current form, he's somewhere between the 7th to 12th best goaltender in the NHL. And I think that's really good. Is he Connor Hellebuck? No. Is he Bobrovsky? No. But you can win games with him. And more often than not, I feel like he plays his best in some of the biggest moments. Has he played that way in the regular season all the time? But I watched him in Game 7 last year against Vegas. Not too bad. I watched him in double overtime against Colorado, Game 6. He's not too bad. I'm not trying to convince anybody he's Patrick Waugh. I hope that's not what it sounds like, but he's a damn good #1 netminder. And as much as you may want to see Casey DeSmith more, I'm going to break it to you right now. Breaking news. Jake Oettinger starting game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, barring an injury. And he'll be starting game 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, barring an injury. And more than likely, he'll be starting game 3 of round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, even if the Stars go down 2-0 like they did last season. Just don't even get it into your head. Jake Oettinger's the number 1. He will be the guy in between the pipes, whether you like it or not. And I'm riding with Jake Oettinger. He's been to back-to-back Western Conference finals, and I get it. Maybe he hasn't looked the best. But boy, he's a real crappy goaltender to get to Western Conference finals back-to-back years and be really crappy. Look, I don't know what else to add to this conversation. And yeah, he has to be better. I think he's been pretty awful his last few starts. I don't think he's been good. He's let up a lot of softies. And has he reached the form as he was in that 7-game series against Calgary? No. And maybe that's the best he will ever perform in the playoffs. Maybe that's his peak. But I think that's okay because I think the Stars can win with him. They're very good. They're very good up front. I think the Stars can handle it. As long as he's not losing them games, I think they'll be all right. And there's not a lot of games I can point to. It's just, okay, like Otter just completely was awful. And you know, a game here or there in the last few playoff runs he's had. I mean, you can let me know in the comment. I can't think of one to be like, oh yeah, like goaltending was the reason they lost this series, or goaltending was the reason they lost a handful of games. There's not really a game or series I can point back to be like, okay, like he was just awful. He was the number one reason the Stars did not get over the hump. So yes, Jake needs to be better because he's looked just really rough his last few starts, and they need him to find his game. But I'm not going to disagree. They could use Casey DeSmith a bit more. Just ride him while he's hot, like ride the hot hand a bit, get him a few extra starts, let Jake just kind of reset. But at the end of the day, he's going to be starting, barring an injury, and we're going to live and die by Otter, whether you agree with that or not. And you can look at some of the overlying numbers and some of that, but Jake is getting a lot more of the tough starts. He's having the higher quality of teams. And look, this sort of goes against what I've said about Casey DeSmith as well, where he gets some of the tougher starts as a backup. But like Jake is playing a lot against the best teams in the NHL. And it's sort of the case, I feel like, a few the last few seasons where it's like, oh, Dallas can't beat good teams. And that seems to always be a hot topic in the regular season. And then they get through 2 really good teams in the playoffs. It's like, okay, like maybe we were a bit premature on some of our notions of Dallas. So look, he has to be better. I'll be there. I'll defend him a bit though. it almost feels like a bit because I've dug myself so deep with him, but I'm going to save some of I guess my criticisms of him for the playoffs as well, because more often than not, I feel like he gets the job done. And maybe I'm being naive, but that's how I feel on the matter. And I think he'll be able to right the ship, and Dallas will be okay. I'm not going to take a lot out of a Friday night against Winnipeg. Like, he had a rough game. Was he great? Was the offense great for Dallas? They just got skunked 4-1. I think there's a lot of reasons Dallas lost, and I don't think I'd point to Jake as a top 3 reason. He's going to get the majority of it. He's a net miner. That's how it works. Net miners will always get that. So, anyways, enough of Jake Oettinger and the goaltending talk. Let's preview a bit of a big-time contest on Sunday afternoon. Stars and Avs, one of those measuring stick contests. We'll see if Dallas can bounce back. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just stop the managing your money, you start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. It's all about convenience, all in one convenience with Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL and monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first order, first of the year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. So the Stars will wrap up their road trip with a Sunday matinee against the Colorado Avalanche. It will be on TNT. The Avs are now nipping at the heels of Dallas in the Central Division. They're 40-24-3. They have split the first two meetings of this season, and it's another one of those measuring stick games. So hopefully the Stars will bounce back. Of course, we're hoping Roope will be good to go. That was the potential return of Hintz, and we also hope that Lian Bichsel is going to be healthy enough. He was dealing with an illness, which did not allow him to go against Winnipeg. So it's a big time game in terms of the Stars trying to get some confidence here against an Avs team that is starting to maybe find its groove. They went out, they made a lot of key acquisitions at the deadline. They're sort of humming as well coming out of the Four Nations break. So two of the top three teams in the West that are going at it head to head. And hopefully Dallas just shows up. That was one of the things I took out of the game against Winnipeg was the Jets just seemed to have an intensity about them that was really hard for Dallas to match. And if Colorado comes out that way, Dallas is going to have to sort of hold on for dear life. Again, like the Avs are just too dangerous of a team and will make you pay if you do not show up. So hopefully the Stars will play with a sense of urgency against Colorado that we did not see against Winnipeg here tonight. You obviously have to worry about the McKinnons of the world. Natchez has been a great addition, one of the best two-way players. Of course, he was traded for Rantanen in the original deal that sent Mikko over to Carolina. It's going to be a weird 48 hours, I think, for Mikko Rantanen. Going to have one more big press conference in Colorado. I think some of that has worn on Dallas a bit. The aftermath of getting Rantanen and just all the stuff that's coming out from Carolina and Mikko and the Stars is just a lot that I think can take its toll on the locker room a bit in the short term. So just 48 hours to sort of put it all to bed. And hopefully you get out of Colorado with 2 points and you can just kind of lay things to rest. And the Stars can go about their business for the remaining, 14 games of the season. But they're going to have to answer a lot of questions. Mikko is about his departure from Colorado and why he chose Dallas as a destination and all that good stuff. And that's one of the things as well I didn't touch on earlier in the episode, but the Stars were just shuffling up a lot. Like we've seen Marchment, Bork, and Dodonov. It's just a weird line. Johnston and Ben were playing with Rantanen, and Robo is playing with Duchesne, and who else was he playing with? Granlund. I just feel like it's a line juggling nightmare right now for Pete DeBoer. Even with Roope Hintz out, they're just not quite able to put some trios together to give them some consistency, which, man, I hope they can find the rest of the way. They just need to be able to trot out a pretty similar lineup on most nights. I think that would help them tremendously down the stretch just to have some consistency. And of course, Seguin's been out this whole season. And look, yes, all the injuries again. Stars have had to just change up their lineup a lot. But man, if if they could find some consistency in the last month, whether they're winning or not, just lines that they feel are comfortable with and pairings that will at least give them some stability the rest of the way, and just finish out the season, and hopefully you can ride in the playoffs with, okay, this is what we have. We know what we want to roll with, instead of just having to kind of hit buttons and pray to find whatever. I think that would be huge. As you can tell, it's late tonight, and I'm thinking hard to get some of these sentences out. It's been a long week, but a fun one. So I think that's all I have. That's all I have today. It really is. By the way, I put out an episode. I forgot to publish on the YouTube side of things. It's a Stanley Cup checklist, actually, of the Dallas Stars. And I just posted that, I think, late on Friday night. So be sure to check that out. It is really worth a watch about, how the Stars kind of match up with Winnipeg and Colorado in the Central. So I would encourage you to look at that. Again, want to thank you all for such a wonderful week. You guys have been awesome. The videos have been popping off, and I really appreciate all the love and support on each and every episode. As I usually say, thank you so much. I have an absolute blast doing this. Unfortunately, Stars drop a bit of a dud here tonight against Winnipeg, but we'll hope for a better outcome on Sunday afternoon. Do not worry yet, Stars fans. No time to panic. We'll panic in round 1, okay? We're gonna save it for that. But that will do it. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on Monday. I'll be traveling a bit here the next month. It's going to be a lot of travel for me. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I hope I can be consistent on the uploads, but my schedule is going to be a bit wonky here. I'll be on the road for pretty much the last month of our season. So it's going to be awkward. So just bear with me, but we're going to be pumping out content. Do not worry. Have a great weekend, Stars fans. I need to get to sleep. We'll see you on Monday. So long.